basic recipe. There are people that have all sorts of bad habits that they haven't sorted out. So if you're smoking, if you're overeating, if you're downloading porn, if you're gambling, if you're going out to, terrorize the neighbor's dog, if you're doing something like that, well, I would consider those debits. But if you've already developed a nice lifestyle practice for yourself, and you have the sensitivity, let's just say the intelligence and the sensitivity to not chronically poison yourself, then they're all positive things. You're working your way up. So then the next question is, how much do you actually need? And in how much time? Because you might be okay with whatever, X amount a month, but you got to work 20 hours a day to get it. Well, will that be ecological? Will that make sense to what you need to do? The formula that I have in order for me to be able to grow and be healthy and relaxed and happy in this body and to be creative is that I need to generate a certain amount of money in a certain amount of time. Maximum 20 hours a week. 10 to 20 hours of work, of turning on my computer to use it for something that will generate abundance. Ideally 2 hours a day max. You want to get down to 2 hours a day and weekends off type of thing. In other words, this is 10% of the intelligence of my being. I shouldn't give it more than 10% of my day to generate everything that it needs. My feet are 100% of what I need to get from here to there, and they should be able to get me every day from where I need to get to, and they can. And I can actually walk further than I need. Right? Does that make sense? My lungs can breathe all I need for a regular day, and there are days when I need to use it more, and they can provide the oxygen that I need. This mind, this thinking system, this operating system should, in a maximum of 2 hours, generate enough for me to not have to think and do everything else that I need to do. Right? Does that make sense? Now, if you're receiving that passively because you inherited some money, it's different than if you're actually going out and working for it. But if you happen to be in a situation where you've already created a cash flow positive experience for yourself, then your head's up, because you actually, there is something to be said about not having to think at all about making money, and just the rent's coming in every month, and you just send a few emails and you do a few transfers, and that comes down to a few hours a week, and that's it.
So that's kind of the situation I am in right now.
That's the situation that you're in now, and you have a certain amount of cash flow that's coming in, and it has a certain degree of stability, so you are now working within that pocket. The question for you is, would you like to stay there, or would you like to take it up a notch? That's what you get. That's what you get to decide. And then how much of a notch do you want to take it up? Up to tenfold. More than that will not be ecological. You won't be able to do it, so do it in several steps. You can get there if you're already there. So wherever you're at, right? Does that make sense? So how much do you need an hour in order to be able to create the lifestyle that allows you to wake up whenever you need to wake up? Eat the best food that you need. Get a massage whenever you need a massage. Right? Do your yoga, your tai chi, your dance, have your art materials, do everything you love to do, buy the books you need, right? Travel to a little remote place every once in a while, right? If you live in a city, be able to go out into the weekend at least once a month for a couple of days to a cute little bed and breakfast somewhere, right? That kind of thing. What do you need to sort yourself out? I would say that is the minimal amount, and you're not going to work more than 2 hours a day, 4 hours a day, extreme maximum, right? You had to push it for a couple of weeks, but then you go back to, but that's because now I only need 1 hour a day to just check my emails and just do things like that. Does that make sense? So you need to come up with that number. You need to be aware of what that number is. Right? And that is that's the value of your existential time. And that's where you are. If you wish to move it up, let's say you are at 50 and you want to move it up to 500. Maybe 500 is too much, so you can say, well, I'm going to move it up to 75, or I'm going to move it up to 100 or 150, or 200 or 250, or you can actually go to 500. If you're at 50, you can go tenfold, right? Then that is the number that you're going to put into your mental currency account. Plus, that's for your hours of debits, of credits and debits, times 2, right? Your debits times 2. Plus, all of your expenses around what you're doing to get to there. So you go to a J.T. Fox seminar, and that teaches you something, and you go to an Anthony Robbins experience, and that teaches you something else, right? And you come here, and then you learn something else, and you invest a certain amount of time, and now you are...
That's adding up to the, for example, if I want to make 600 an hour.
If you want to make 600 an hour, then you put your and you make more than 60 an hour now. So you can write down 600 an hour as your time, right? You can do that. And now every time you're working on yourself, you can write down your value of 600 an hour for the work that you're working on yourself.
So, for example, sitting here for 10 hours would make 6,000 on my mental currencies.
That would make 6,000 on your mental currency account, right? Does that make sense? And what you're paying for your rent and for this entire trip, all the expenses also go into your mental currency account. What you're doing is you're looking at increasing the numbers that you're used to. Because normally when you look at your bank account or your bank statement or you check online, there's a range of numbers, right? You get a paycheck, you get a couple thousand, whatever that come in, dollars, euros, pounds that comes in a week or a month, right? And then you pay for your rent, and you pay for your food, and you pay for the insurance, and the car payment, and it starts to go down, and then money comes in, right? And then money goes down, and money goes up, and you have a range of numbers that you are used to, and as long as they stay in that range, you're relaxed, right? You've got, however, somewhere between $1,000 and $10,000
so then
dollars,
the
euros,
money
or pounds
for
a
my plane
month.
ticket and for my bungalow here that goes.
Those are all
obviously-
investments in this mental currency account.
Okay.
You add those as investments to your mental currency account.
Not
Not the hours you sat on the airplane.
But the actual plane ticket adds up to the.
Sure, everything you chose to do. Now, if you're actually flying the airplane and you're hiring, well, then you're putting in the hours as the pilot, and you're hiring the instructors to teach you how to fly and to co-pilot with you. Then you can include that too. If you're just sitting as a passenger. But if you choose to, you flew coach, business, first class. How did you fly? Coach. Okay. But if after this you decide to invest the last few thousand euros to go back business class because you want to arrive fresh and relaxed and you want to have a taste of what that's like and you want to be able to just get in and run into some business meetings, so then you invest the extra that you invested in yourself from coach to business. Right? I invest in I pay coach when I fly 1 hour, but if I'm going to fly if I'm going to go to Singapore, I don't care. I'm in Thailand, it's an hour and a half flight. But if I'm going to fly to London or LA and I'm going to arrive and I need to be fresh, I'm going to meet with a client or a friend or my mother, or I want to be fresh and relaxed, I pay 5 times more, 10 times more, and I fly business class. Because then I arrive fresh and relaxed, ready for business.
So then, actually, when I'm here, then I wouldn't have any punishments, I think.
You wouldn't have any punishments unless you, I don't know, decide to go punish yourself somehow. But you don't have to. I don't punish myself. What do I need to punish myself for? Some people, there are people who were raised in an environment where there was so much punishment that their secondary gain is in being naughty, so that someone will punish them, and they feed off of the attention they got for being punished. But I don't need to punish myself. But existence will punish me all by itself. I will make a mistake and stub my toe. Ooh, I should have paid attention to that.
The only thing
That's
I
my
would punish
punishment.
myself for is my thoughts that I would keep on nagging.
Well, if you suddenly go in and start deciding that no, this guy and this thing, and I'm getting scared and my money, and you cancel the whole thing, and you go back and you try to sublet your place, you get your money back, and you go back home. Well, then just drop the whole thing. Don't even punish yourself. Just burn it. And just let it go. Who cares, right? But should you have a chronic poisonous attitude to yourself, then you should punish yourself until you no longer have it, or debit yourself. It should hurt. It should be like, ooh, I just wasted time again. I could have been, right? Instead of doing my yoga, I just downloaded cartoons all day. I watched porn all day. How does that help you? Well, if you're studying, if you're doing a research on porn and the psychology of it, well, then maybe you need to watch 20 hours of porn a day, and that's part of your work, right? It sounds horrific, but I'm not here to put a value on it. I'm not here to say whether it's good or bad for you. You have to determine whether what you're doing is in your highest interest or not.
And
if it's neutral, it's neutral.
And when you balance it, then, for example, I would have loads of extra money in my mental account here.
Loads of extra money in your account. In what account?
In the mental account.
Your mental account, you want to build it up to millions. You want to be able to use to every single, because you're going to fill this in every night before you do your dream therapy. You're going to fill in your debits, your deposits, most deposit, occasional debit, right? And investments in yourself, so that every night before you go to bed, the second to last thing you see is how you're adding value to your life experience, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. You should make an Excel spreadsheet.
You make a little small Excel, but keep it simple and just keep it in a little notebook. You just have the date, the amount that you've invested in so far, and then an hour of this, an hour of that. Credit, extra money for here, extra money for that, credit. And you go from 0 to 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000. Before you know, you've got 100,000 in your account. Have you ever had 100,000 units of your own personal currency in your bank account? Right, so you don't know what that feels like. Right? So you need to get used to that, because when money comes, you need to be comfortable when you actually one day have 100,000 units in your account. You need to be comfortable with that. It needs to be like, oh, I've seen that before. And then one day you have 1 million in your account. You're like, wow, I made it to 1 million in my mental currency. Does that mean you will immediately receive 1 million? No, but if you were to receive 1 million, what it means is that you've already you're laying out the wiring to go through it. Right? Does that make sense? You're laying out that wiring.
So we should have several notebooks. So one for the currency account, one for the dreaming.
One for the currency account, one for the dreaming, and then another notebook where you're mapping out your mind and things you're figuring out about yourself and the pieces of the puzzle that are coming together. And eventually you're going to start having certain accomplishments. You'll reach certain milestones. And you'll be like, wow, this week, I woke up fresh, relaxed, quiet, present in my body before the body awakened. And I watched my body awaken, and you're going to write down the date of that. Right? As of this month, I am now having consistent dropping into my center, little mini satori's on a regular day. I've accomplished this. I lost this. I spent too much time doing this, and I lost this, and I regained it. You're going to map that out. Okay? Certain accomplishments you'll figure out. Right? Does that make sense? So that's how you set it up. Now, how do you activate it? In order to activate it, you have a couple of different approaches. If you are authentically valuing your time at 50, 60, 100, 600, whatever it is, then I've developed a system that allows you to turn that into a reality for you. Okay? And I'm going to give you, I have two options for you. The first option is that if you are interested in creating this operating system, I will coach you on how to do this. And you will invest hour per hour the same amount of money. Which means that if I coach you for an hour and your time is 600, then that's how much you pay me for that time. That's how you do it.
Is it where you're actually at or where you want to be?
Whatever time you want to anchor in, as in I value my time at this, I will match you at whatever time you value your time. I'll work with you at your time. That's it. You can also choose to go do it yourself. But then you're going to really have to start investing in yourself. And if your time is really worth $600 an hour, you're flying business back home. And when you're finished with this, you're moving out of the this bungalow and you're finding a place that is appropriate for somebody who makes $600 an hour. You're finding yourself a little villa up in the mountains, and you're investing all the rest of your money in yourself to get in a villa that costs 5, 6 times more, 10 times more, massage therapist on call, and you're returning home in a business class ticket when you're finished. Like, you have to really invest in yourself. And if you have any excess money, you are donating it to somebody who's planting trees, or like you got to channel it. You got to put that money through. It has to become a reality for you. I am now a $600 an hour person. Right? Does that make sense? Because that's the way that I live. That's the way that I'm doing things. Now, to give you a direct personal experience, I'll tell you a little bit about Jantra's story, and she'll happily discuss this with you. So, Jantra was born in the jungles between Thailand and Cambodia into the unspoken slave caste of her culture. Her job is to be a slave to the system, to her parents, to the culture, to the royal family, to whatever is happening around her, to the higher-ups. So that's her mental conditioning. People in this part of the world work, minimum salary is 300 baht a day. That's less than 10 euros. That's 8 euros a day. When I met her, she was down to her last 26 baht, which is not a lot of money. It was like 60 cents on the dollar back then. She got clean, she dressed up, she brushed her hair, she went out with a smile to have one last beer and surrendered to the universe. She was okay with it. She had several bank accounts, and in her bank accounts, she had 10 baht in one account. They closed another one because she didn't have enough money and whatever. She had like several bank accounts. She went around, there was no money in any of them. And she was terrified to walk into a bank. She had earned and received a significant amount of money in the work that she was forced to do, but it all went to her parents. She handled millions of baht to her parents, and they squandered it all on gold chains that they gambled away, gambling, lottery tickets, alcohol. The house was always a mess. It was always, dirt floor. Like everything was just really, 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 really poverty and sub-poverty level. Even though she knows for a fact that she channeled at least 2 to 3 million baht into that family. And you need to understand that at 300 baht a day, 1 million baht is years of a worker's salary. Right? So, but it was always 5,000 baht at a time, 2,000 baht at a time, a little bit, not too much. It's not that much money. A couple thousand baht was a lot of money. So, I had her map out her program, and we started our adventure here from zero. And in order I will discuss how we did that to start from zero. But she was very comfortable at zero because all she needed to go out was out in the garden, and she could find food. It wasn't a big deal, right? We started generating abundance. More and more and more money. And I started using that money as an exercise to get her to start learning how to make more money, how to invest more money. So, for example, I had her go and take all the cash out that we needed to pay for the lease for 1 year, which was 180,000 baht. Now, 180,000 baht is more than a year's salary for somebody. It's not a lot of money for a lease. For a place like this, right? But it was a lot of cash. We had enough money to do that, so I had her take out 180,000 baht in cash and carry it over and give it to the landlord, where they counted it out, and everybody was shaking and trembling. Because if I said to you, take 180,000 euros and walk across the street, you're going to have a certain bit of a shock, right?
I already had it here because I had 60,000 baht, because I was also taking cash for other people here, and it was like, I'm 60,000 baht. Someone knows that this is in my pocket right now.
Right, because 60,000 is a big number. It's only a couple thousand euros, not even.
Yeah, but still for here it's a lot.
But
Even
it's a lot for here. You can live a long time here.
Yeah, and
with
even
that.
in Amsterdam, I would be comfortable with 2,000 cash in my pocket.
Right, but you understand that now that's the limit of your wiring.
Yeah.
Right? That's where you're stuck. So she went and she did that, and it was an experience for her. And then she had to think about it, meditate on it, do some yoga, write it out, script it out, write out her fears, her dream. I was nervous. Right? And we went from zero. We invested 200,000 baht to start this place. And so we invested 5,000 euros, and within a year we made 50,000 euros. We put all of that into rewiring the place. It was over a million baht to rewire this place and get the solar power. And I'd already created my mental bank account currency for an ultra high wealth upper limit. And I've been working on that for a decade. And we created the situation so that we went from investing 5,000 the first year to making 50,000 the first year, reinvesting that all in so they would finish with zero. We netted 500,000 euros the following year out of this place. We reinvested that in fully, and we netted 5 million euros the following year out of this space. Now, as soon as we made 50,000 euros, we invested that money. We put it all in, and when we made 500,000 euros, now 500,000 euros is 20 million baht. That's a big jump in money. I booked us for a VIP high-end Bali Fest yoga festival. We stayed at Arma, and I booked a house, a suite with a pool, and the whole thing immediately. But I had her go and do the transfer. So she had to go and transfer like $8,000 or something like that, which was like 250,000 euros to pay for a week in Bali, doing yoga, staying in a beautiful room, having her own private suite. When I took her there and she saw the place, at first she loved it, and then that night she started freaking out. She wanted to break things, she wanted to leave, she couldn't handle it, she felt guilty, she felt shame. Like, it was so intense for her. It was so much money for her. Her village would have been fed for a year for that amount of money. Okay? Does that make sense? But she did it. She got over it. She was able to find her balance in that space. So then we came back, and of course, once she found her balance in that space, she realized that she wanted to help her parents. If she sends them money, they just gamble it away. So we thought about it. So what can we do? Well, it would be great to have like tiles on the floor and mosquito nets. And Nampu was getting bitten by bugs, and there were scorpions, and snakes would get in. And they would not invest any money. And if you send them money, there's no way that they would use it to invest in the place. So we hired someone. We paid them directly to retile the place, redo the plumbing in the bathroom, and fix it up, so that she could improve the quality of her parents' house, so that her parents could have a better lifestyle, and her sister and her niece. She had all this extra abundance. It didn't feel right for her to keep it for herself. But she knew she couldn't give it to them directly, so she had to. How can we improve the quality of their life without doing it intelligently, without just giving them, 100,000 baht that they're just going to burn it instantly? If we invested 100,000 baht each to go to Bali for a week, we can at least invest 100,000 baht so that the family has a time, right? Does that make sense? But now we had more resources. So we went, and I had to do a visa run, and I looked for, to see if there was some sort of money or investment seminar, because I realized we've made $500,000. I'd never made $500,000 before, but more money is clearly coming. More currency is coming, so I need to study this. So we went out and we found teachers, coaches, mentors in all forms of business and money. Forex, stocks, real estate. What are all the different vehicles for money? Because we don't need that much money to live here. We have an abundance. We have an abundance of wealth. What are we going to do with it? How are we going to learn how to channel this? We also had a $2 business license from the local city hall to run a bed and breakfast. Chandra has, and everything's in her name. And we thought, that's more money than this entire beach will make in a very long time. Let's protect ourselves, and let's find high-end corporate attorneys and build a bulletproof corporate system. Create the wiring network so that we can channel large amounts of abundance, be tax efficient, be isolated and safe from that ourselves. So we create a limited liability company that allows us to channel high amounts of currency without us being targeted as individuals for personal income taxes and stuff like that. So there's corporate taxes, there's corporate costs, there's corporate secretaries, but now we have a vessel that can channel the amount of money that it needs to, and we can start growing and building on that. Why? Because we need to create the extensions to our operating system so that they will channel that, because no human needs that much money. I just need enough money to last for a few days. Just to get a room, have a nice meal, have clean clothes, and walk out and find more abundance, right? So as a hunter-gatherer that I am, I'm happy when my pockets are empty so that I can go out and fill them with the diamonds and the gold nuggets that I find. I don't go out with pockets full of coins and heavy things to the gold mine to go look for diamonds. I go out empty-pocketed and I come back with full pockets. But I need a place to put them where they'll be safe and out of mind. They don't turn my mind on.
Because you don't have it actually on your bank account?
I have my own personal bank account, but it just has a few $1,000s in it because that's all I need. I mean, what do you need money for?
And then you created a corporation.
And we created a series of corporations. We have 3 different corporations to channel the abundance. We're shareholders, we're owners, we're directors of the corporation, but they're limited liability companies. So, and most reliable for a limited amount. As individuals, we can only be targeted for a maximum amount of money. Yeah. Anything beyond that is a loss. The company goes bankrupt. It is what it is. That's the corporate system. Yeah. There is a system designed to channel large amounts of currency, and it's the corporate banking system. Sorry?
You have a holding above the corporation.
We own them. We own the shares in them. Yeah. They're just corporate structures that are designed to do that. They're designed to channel higher amounts of currency. I'm not going to keep it under my bed. That's too much money. I just keep enough in case there's an emergency, a blackout, a Holocaust, North Korea explodes into a nuclear war. I have enough cash to get what I need or get out of the way, right? And then the rest is being held in different accounts and different investment models and different vehicles, right, that deal with what's happening in the world so that they can keep generating more abundance for us. Right? Does that make sense? Because that's the only way I can do it. Otherwise, what am I going to do? Sit in a dungeon counting my gold coins? Does that make any sense? Right? Does that make sense? So then Jantra needed to go out and learn how to shop for herself, how to buy clothes, how to buy shoes, how to, right? We took courses on that. We met with wealthy people. We started spending time with wealthier people. We had to buy nicer clothes. Jantra had to go out and start investing more money in clothes. Normally she would buy shoes for 200 baht. Now she needed to go and spend 2,000 baht. Say, you take this money and go out and buy a nice pair of shoes. But you had to find a friend that was an upper class, a higher society friend that knew about shopping for higher end shoes for women. So we took a shop. We all went shopping, right? And she would get so nervous and so tight. Later, we commissioned and built a custom-made hybrid solar-powered sailing yacht. The first payment on that was 2.8 million baht. So I had Jantra go all by herself. I'm going to go do it by myself. I'm so excited. See, Jantra went from walking into a bank and being terrified of the tellers, feeling shy and scared, to walking into the bank and having the bank managers approach her immediately and say, "Excuse me, ma'am, come sit. What would you like? What's your area of business? How many millions can we loan you? Would you like a cup of coffee? Would you like some tea?" The same girl, the same woman, the same body one day walked into a bank and was terrified because she had to withdraw a couple thousand baht. And another day she walks in, and now she walks into the bank here in town, which is a small city bank, and says, "I'd like to do a transfer from my account where there's 30 million baht in the account. And I'd like to transfer 2.8 million baht to this other account to purchase a yacht." And the bank manager makes a sign. The guard closes and locks the door to the bank. Everybody's locked in. And he leans over and he whispers and he says, "I'm sorry, but our computer systems cannot handle. Nobody has ever done a transaction of that amount. I'm going to have to give it to you in cash and assign an armed guard so that you can walk across the street and do a physical deposit of the amount." So they lock the bank down and they pull out stacks of 1,000 baht bills.
Oh my god.
2,800 1,000 baht bills.
Wow.
They get put in a bag. They're given to Jantra, and she walks out with an armed guard behind her, so that she can walk across the street of Tong Sala to the other bank, where she can walk in and say, "I need to make a deposit." Clunk, where the bank guys open up their eyes, and they immediately signals red alarm. They lock the place down, right? Point a gun at everyone that might look suspicious and start counting out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2,700, 2,800, boom. 2 million baht. Everybody's looking at her. But see, now she's no longer, now she's a business, she's not afraid, and she's a businesswoman in this. She walks into the bank, they give her good service. She's not afraid anymore. Right? Does that make sense? You get to choose what kind of wiring you want to have, but you actually need to activate it by really doing it. You got to actually pay the buck. You got to start putting the money in. You have to start living that lifestyle. You're going to start growing up. You have to start investing more in yourself. The more you invest in yourself, the richer you're going to feel. Your inner wealth will start to grow. Because your inner wealth is growing, then others will recognize within you that you also have a certain inner wealth. Right? So when you have the inner wealth of a millionaire, you'll be very comfortable with other millionaires, and you'll do millionaire business ventures and enterprises, and feel comfortable with it, and be able to be relaxed about it. Right? So you need to be able to decide where you're going to be at and what's going to work for you. Now, different parts of the world and different lifestyle require different amounts. So how much is the minimum required to be able to go anywhere, work anywhere, do anything, jump on a deal, get on an airplane, buy a nice suit or dress, get what you need, and be comfortable? I found that being comfortable, now, you have to be comfortable with it. It doesn't mean that's what you're spending every day, but you need to be able to go somewhere for a week or 10 days or a month and invest in yourself. You need to be comfortable with 1,000. If you're from the US, $1,000. If you're from Europe, 1,000 euros. If you're British, you need 1,000 pounds a day. You need to be very comfortable investing that amount of money to have the range of freedom where you can now jump on anything and do anything. And that puts you at the entry level of the rich and the wealthy. It's like
$1,000 a day for
$1,000 a day to cover your accommodations, your food, your lifestyle in Singapore, in New York, in UK, in Lima, in any high-end city. I'm comfortable. I can find in any high-end Western city for $1,000 a day. I'm guaranteed a room, a bed, a service, a food. That's enough that I am as relaxed there as I am here.
Going to be for 500, or is the mental fee?
I haven't found a place for 500 a day in New York or in LA or in Singapore. They don't exist for me. In Bangkok, I can do it at 500 a day.
Yeah.
I can't do it in London for 500 a day. doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me in Singapore. 500 a day in Singapore, you share a room. 500 a day in Singapore. Like it's just you don't get much for 500. You get a 3-star motel for 500 a day in Singapore. In Manhattan, we're going to for 500 a day. Like it's just the noise, the traffic, right? So 800 to 1,000 to 1,200 a day. There's 2 of us. It's 1,000 a day per person. For 1,500, the 2 of us can do really well anywhere. I can stay fully present, growing, and thriving in all aspects of life on that budget.
That's only when you're traveling.
When I'm traveling, yeah, or when I'm in a major city or something like that. Now I can obviously, if I'm going to stay a long time somewhere, I can rent a place long term. I can do things like that. But if I just want the flexibility of being able to go in and out, that's what I'm looking at between the quality of the food, the meal. A good meal in New York, I'm going to spend several $100s a day on food.
Yeah, but in London, I'm easily spending like 500 euros a day.
In London, right? Sure. That's what I call the intuitive entrepreneur level. That's the silver level, the silver bullet level. That's the minimal for my intuitive entrepreneur training program. It starts at 1,000 a day.
What is the entrepreneur level different from the coaching of per hour you help me with?
Oh well, if you're not if you want, as far as my programs are concerned, if you are not there yet, then you don't start there yet because that would add stress to your life. If I said you got to spend 1,000 a day to be here, you'd be like, well, I could only be here for a week or 2 weeks. It doesn't make any sense. That would stress me out. So you're not there yet. You're uncomfortable with a couple €1,000. You can get to a place where you're comfortable with saying 1,000 a day. That's worth it. I'm happy to give you 1,000 a day to be here. When you can do that, then you will fit in, and you can actually hang out with the high net worth and ultra high net worth individuals. That not even the ultra high worth. These guys are spending 10,000 a day. They're spending 100,000 a day. I'm not there yet, right? But because I worked my way up to that level, when I had the opportunity, John and I had the opportunity to join the Anthony Robbins Platinum Partnership a year and a half ago, we watched him for a couple of hours. We'd never gone to any of his programs. It was a multi-person event in Singapore. JT was there. We saw JT, and we saw him, and we saw a bunch of other people. And then we walked by, and they have this booth for the Platinum Partnership thing, and we kind of looked at it, and then we heard him talk about it a little bit, and we came back, and we asked a few questions, and we signed up on the spot. It cost $155,000. We signed up on the spot. We then spent a year traveling around the world, every 3 months, encountering 300 self-made millionaires and billionaires in exotic locations, paid 1,000 a day for each of the days that we were there, chose to arrive a week early so we could acclimate ourselves and stay a week later so that we could process. So we chose to travel business class on good quality airlines. So we invested that year, $400,000 in ourselves. 200 days a year traveling at 1,000 a day. And we committed to this. And within 6 weeks of starting the program, a higher-end client saw us and paid us $500,000 for working with us that year. So he paid for the entire year on the spot in advance. It all came back instantly, plus a little extra. Buy high-end gifts and things for Nabu. As soon as we jumped and committed to, we're gonna do this. How much is it gonna cost? Several $100,000. Just do it. Immediately, it was reflected back by people who were like, "Oh, you're the kind of person that would invest that way. I'll do business with you. I'll invest in you. I want to be coached by you. You're the kind of coach that would invest this amount of money in himself. I want to be coached by somebody who, I have invested a couple $1 million in myself and ourselves. These are amazing resources for how to work your way up the wealth ladder, or up the richness ladder, the rich ladder. Now, what your inner worth is, well, that depends on how you approach it and why you're doing it. If you're just ambitious and you just want to be a billionaire, you can be a beggar inside. As a matter of fact, most billionaires, millionaires, billionaires, and trillionaires are the saddest beggars on this planet. Scared. It's fear that's driving and motivating. I'm saying go against your fears. I'm not saying let your fears drive you into being successful. You'll succeed at failing. You might have all the riches on the outside, but you'll succeed at failing. What I'm saying is invest in yourself, what you need to find and take out those fears, and then start challenging them. Jantra's fears about money came out only when she started investing in herself.
The exact same.
Only. They would not have come out if she'd had no money. They would not have invested. My fears about money were not about having money. My fears were about not having money. If you have a fear of investing or in growing, then you won't grow until you challenge that fear. How are you going to grow and challenge? By investing in yourself. Now, it doesn't matter where you do it. I'm just openly and freely sharing this information. You can go and you can hire coaches. You can work with JT. He's awesome. With Coach Les, you can do the Anthony Robbins program. I can only most highly recommend that. Because every time you do, if you do it with this conscious awareness, then you will grow. And there'll be something about you. Plus, the peers, the people that you meet on these trips, at these events, at these seminars that are staying also at the same resort and going through the same thing, and they also paid at least $10,000 each to be there for 5 days, plus their plane tickets, plus this, plus that, plus, right? These are people that are comfortable with that level, or at least they are challenging their comfort level. So, who would you want to do business with, right? Well, I'd like to do business with people who are also wanting to grow. Right? Does that make sense? So, I'm interested in people who wish to grow. So, I don't care where you are. As long as you're willing to grow, then I'm interested in working with you. So I can start at 20 an hour, and you can graduate that to 80 an hour, and then move that up to 100 to 250 to 200 to 2,000. That's okay. I'm okay with that. It makes no difference to me. Or you can stay at 10 an hour, but I don't have a lot to share with you at 10 an hour because you're not going to enter the world of the entrepreneurial world without living. You need to get past the 200 to 250 euro an hour mark. If you start at 200 to 250 euro an hour, that's like when you're taking the step. You start getting traction to start climbing. If you need time to work up to that, then take all the time that you need to work up to that. Right? Does that make sense? Because it makes no difference to me because I don't know what kind of lifestyle you're going to have. If I relate it to this garden, and I go, our smallest program is called Seeds of Grass. You're in the Seeds of Grass program right now. It's by donation. You can give me a hug and walk away with all this information, and I'm grateful and appreciative of everything I've learned from you. It's worth millions to me because I can share it with other people. I use it for myself and I use it for others. So it makes no difference to me. Right? And why seeds of grass? Because if I take a seed of grass and I throw it on a patch of dirt and I spit on it and grind it down with my heel, the seed of grass is going to say, thank you. That's all it needs. It doesn't need anything else. It's just a seed of grass, right? So if you're a seed of grass, one seed of grass can cover almost the entire planet. Grass is awesome. It's amazing. What can you do with it? You can feed a cow, I guess. You can have a nice lawn. You can play golf on it. The seed of grass can be very valuable. I mean, people pay a lot of money to play golf on top of grass. Same seed of grass that slipped between a crack and some, bird dropping landed on it and gave it the nutrients it needs to sprout and grow, and its little roots found something else, and now there it is. It's grass. That's the basic, most elementary level. For the person who's happy hand to mouth, or the go-lucky free individual who can go from here to there, and you're like a seed of grass, kind of, right? Like you just go from one place to another, and just the right amount of nutrients come right for you, and you'll walk over the mountain to get here so that you won't pay the 300 baht for the boat, right? That's great. That's beautiful. That's fine. That's perfect. If you wish to be an empowered entrepreneur in the world that makes a change, you need to turn that seed of grass into the best golf course on the planet. Donald Trump invested $60 million to build a golf course. Right? It's but he planted grass on it. Okay? So you can work at any level. You can be a seed of grass, but you can be a seed of grass at a golf course or at the beautiful gardens, right? The grass in the palace, right? The Queen's grass, right? The Buckingham Palace. It's just a seed of grass, but it's in a higher scale environment. It just didn't fall through the cracks. Right? Does that make sense? So you can work at any level. For me, for Jantra, for the people that we've met, I need to have enough extra cash or enough investment to be able to just hop on a business class flight and arrive refreshed in a nice, light, tailor-made suit that allows me to walk in and have a conversation with someone where I know that they know that I'm clear and confident about who I am, where I'm at, what I can do, what I can't do, and I can sign $1 million deal with someone and build the best botanical garden or golf course. Does that make sense? But you got to start somewhere, or you can just be wild grass, which just floats with the wind and lands wherever it lands. That's okay. The world needs free-flowing, free-spirited, right? Yogis and tantrikas and dancers and artists and scientists and botanists and engineers. However, the entrepreneurial side of it is going to require intentionally choosing to upgrade the coding and the wiring and the apps so that you can speak the language, have the body language, walk into a bank. And Jantra walked into the same bank she was terrified of here in Tumsala before we did the big deal, and she just curious. It was just an exercise, right? What would happen if she walked into the bank and asked them about business loans? So she'd already done the Yoga Fest, the Bali Fest, the Spirit Fest thing. She'd already invested a certain amount of money in herself, and she walked into the bank, and she dressed appropriately. Not a suit and tie or anything like that, but she dressed appropriately, and she walked in, and she said, "Let's talk to the manager. I have a small business." He said, "Tell me about your business." "Oh, I bought over the old Haduan bungalows, and I've got a little resort, and I do retreats, and we do meditation, and detox retreats, and this and that." And the man looked at her and said to her, "Great, how many million would you like to borrow?" She said, "Okay, well, give me the terms." And she walked up, she's like, big eyes, she's like, "You offered me millions." You are the kind of person that can walk into a bank and someone will offer you millions. No, a million baht is whatever, $25,000, $30,000, euros, pounds. It's not like you can barely buy a new car, a decent car with something like that somewhere else. But to be offered millions on a tiny little island, just walking in without showing anything, doesn't that say something about the frequency, the energy field, the chakras, the aura? Her golden aura.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? That says something, right? Otherwise, she was terrified of the same bank manager. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a whole energy thing.
It's a whole energy thing. And that comes from the inside. That's the inner wealth, the inner abundance, the inner richness thing, where you trust yourself and you know that somewhere somebody will catch your vibe, smell your, catch, be interested, and they will invest in you. Does that make sense? Our Seeds of Grass program allows somebody to, for $1,000, 1,000 euros, 1,000 units, right? Not 1,000 baht, but let's say 1,000 Western units of money to rent themselves a little bungalow somewhere, maybe not on this side of the beach, but that side of the beach, right, on the other side, and come in for a few days to get this information, and then go back to your room, back to your bungalow and work on yourself and clear yourself, and then find your inner freedom, right? Freedom from your mind, from your peace. Now, the inner freedom that you have, I liken it to being able to walk around barefoot. I can walk around barefoot along this entire beach in most areas, very slowly on the rocks, a little faster on the bridge, and more comfortably on the sand. I have that freedom. If I can afford to buy a pair of $2, 100 baht flip-flops, then I can walk in all the same places, but I can also comfortably start walking and climbing further into the hills and do more things. If I can afford to buy a good pair of hiking boots, I can pretty much climb anywhere. If I can invest a little bit and buy some nice dress shoes, and I can walk into a bank and somebody might offer me millions. It's the same freedom. If I want to climb Mount Everest, I'm going to go find the best gear, and I'm going to invest tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands in the best gear, and then I have a chance of climbing Mount Everest. Right? If I can generate enough resources that, for example, I received today an invitation from a family member of this Platinum Partnership, open invitation to anyone in the family to go to the Cayman Islands for a 4-day retreat, meeting, powwow with high worth and ultra high net worth individuals, celebrities, rock stars, football players. It's only, whatever, I'm just going to put a number out there, $10,000 to do it. And I would spend 4 days, Jonathan and I could go and spend 4 days sipping pina coladas and rubbing shoulders with all of these people. And all it would cost us would be $10,000 each for the entry ticket, which is at a discounted price. People are paying up to $50,000 to $100,000 to go, because it's a family. It's like somebody has an in, right, a connection, right? And of course, we'd fly business class, and we'd arrive a few days before, and we stayed a few days later. So for $40,000, $50,000, we could just go and just kill it, and come back with new clients and new things like that. So I mentioned it to her, and she said, "Well, let's do it." Right? Because I can put on those flip-flops that allow me to have that range of motion, or I don't have to do it. So I don't know, we'll decide. Think about it. And then I looked into it more, and it's more sports-related and more about the NFL and things like that. And it's not high on my list of interests, and it's right on my birthday. And we have someone that could take care of Nampu, so that would be okay. Yes, no, maybe. I don't know. I might flip a coin. It doesn't really matter. I have that freedom to go do that. My intuition says to jump on a plane. On the 20th, we might just suddenly wake up going, in 1 hour we can be packed and ready to go. And who knows who we're going to meet there. We might meet the person who's going to finance the next level and the level beyond of what we're going to do next. We just need a few million for that project. It's not a lot of money. A few million is nothing. Just go have a conversation with someone and they just catch us. Just like we met. Right? Like for us to go to JT Fox and to do that, it was about $30K. Just did it. We did the program, and we made a world tour out of it. And we went to Peru. We found where we're going to do our next thing. We found potential business partners. We got invited to all sorts of things. Like everything just.
And everything got the same thing in Nicaragua. We ended up with real estate and.
That's right.
Yeah.
However, you're uncomfortable with 20,000 baht. Or what is it, 60,000 baht, 2,000 euros. If it was 200,000 to go on this trip, I could do it, but I don't know. For this trip, maybe not worth it. But if it was an invitation to Richard Branson's island and Elon Musk was going to be there, and well, of course, just let me get online and I'm just going to do a transfer immediately. Sell some silver. Done. Right? Does that make sense? That's the range of freedom that we have. But you know what? I'd almost rather just stay here quietly. It's my birthday. Play with my. Nampu came up to me the other day and said, "It's going to be your birthday soon. I want you to have a chocolate cake so I can eat it." I'm like, we're going to have chocolate cakes for my birthday so you can eat it. Absolutely. You got it. That to me is more interesting to have that experience. She said, "But for my birthday, I want cupcakes. I want strawberry cupcakes and chocolate cupcakes and blueberry cupcakes." I'm like, great. What if we do cupcakes with chocolate cupcakes for my birthday? And her eyes lit up like that. That's more valuable to me right now than going and meeting these people. Because she's excited about having chocolate cake with me on my birthday. I put a higher value on that experience. Right? because last week when we went away to Suratani, we went there and met with her mother, and her mother signed the adoption papers. Signed the adoption papers. So we have officially started the adoption process. She's learning how to integrate herself with us. And that's part of why Jantra won't go to the JT Fox thing, because she wants to stay with her little girl. You're a nice person, I'm sure we could trust you with her, but her mother just casually signed a paper and said, see ya, and left, and now she's with us, and she's excited to be with us, but we're not going to leave her with you to go, not because there's anything wrong with you, but because it's not the right investment choice for this little, our most valuable investment. So your range of freedom, the range of your activity will be limited by your capacity to generate and channel abundance. No amount of money will purchase your freedom. You can't buy it. For me, I can sell you a recipe for how to be free with nothing. You just got it right now. This is the recipe to be free with whatever lands on your lap. I can help you create a recipe so that you can be free with 1,000 a week, 1,000 a day, 1,000 an hour, 1,000,000, up to you. What's it going to cost? Well, whatever the appropriate price is to be able to do that. Right? Does that make sense? You decide. I cannot. Your freedom is not negotiable. Otherwise, it wouldn't be freedom. But your range of freedom is negotiable. How far you're going to go, what you're going to do, will depend on what resources you have and how quickly you can attract or generate new resources. Right? Does that make sense? So you get to choose that. You have to be able to find your freedom all by yourself, wherever you are with whatever you have. That's step one. While you're doing that, you have the choice, you have the option, because it's going to take years to fully find your freedom and to fully know yourself. In that time period, you have the option to start rescripting yourself so that you have upgraded financial freedom. And you have to start whatever allows you to be most comfortable. That's the right growing place, right? The grass seed is very small, and the mustard seed is even smaller, and it grows into a gigantic tree. So you have to choose where you're going to be at. Where you are now, identify where you are now, and work with what you have, and be grateful that existence gave you that, and you don't have to try to work with being born in a ghetto somewhere in Southeast Asia or India or anywhere. So you're already wealthier than 99% of the planet by default, just the fact that you can come here and do this. Right? So you have a certain advantage. Right? So what you do with it, up to you. Now, basic formula is that if you wish to an operating system that will allow you to function with, let's say, 100K a year, will cost 10K, 10% of your gross yearly income. You invest 10K into creating an operating system for yourself.
10%.
10% of your, my basic formula is 10% of your gross yearly income, your highest gross yearly income of what you have or what you want to have, is the appropriate amount to invest in yourself so that you can create the conditions for this seed to grow. The lowest amount should be 10% of your highest gross yearly amount. That should be the entry level. If you wish to get in queue for this bungee jump, for this takeoff, my suggestion is that you look at the most amount of money you've ever made, and in a year, and 10% of that is the appropriate cost for creating an operating system that will allow you to be comfortable with that amount, effortless, stay in your zone, and find your way.
But for example, I've been working before, but then my fixed costs were lower than they are right now. So I had more money actually. Does that be taken into account?
Whatever number you decide, will put in the wiring for up to 10 times more. Up to 10 times more, and it'll take however long it takes. So whatever you put in will be the minimum. So if you put in 10 an hour, you're wired for 10, and you can get to 100. If you want 100 an hour, you got to start with 10. It's going to take you some time to work it up. If you want to start at 100 an hour and you want to set, I value my time at 100 an hour, then start at 100. If you need to start at 50 because that's all you can afford and you want to work your way up to 100 slowly, go ahead. With 60, you can work your way up to 600. Right? If you want to start at 600, then start at 600. If you want to start at 100, then start at 100. Up to you. It makes no difference to me. This program's free. Right? What activates it is that you are investing in yourself, that you're actually literally taking this currency, which is an idea, and saying, I value myself this much. I'm going to invest this much in creating this type of experience for myself. Right? Does that make sense? And you get to decide what that works for you. So then, things are going to come up for you. Fears, insecurities, hopes, dreams, desires. But I want to make millions, but I don't want to pay him anything. I want to get it for free. Why should I give him that much, right? All these ideas are going to start to come up. And you got to sort those out because you got to come up with a clear, okay.
Presence.
What?
Being present.
You got to be able to be present with whatever you're working with, right? Because you're the one that has to be present. I'm already present. I'm present with 0 and I'm present with millions. When my first 7-figure client approached me, he worked his way up. But when he approached me, he said, I want to be present and free with millions. I said, great, me too. I've never done it. So give me $1 million and I'll tell you what it feels like. If I can't handle it, I'll give it back to you. And if I can, then I'll show you how to do it. Because I've never done it, so I just don't know. So he transferred over $1 million and my system's good. It works. I can stay present. So then I showed him what he needs to do so that he can stay present.
And how long did it take you, or it was just instantly?
I spent 10 years. When I first saw the money in the account, that night my mind raced with dreams and possibilities, and I can do this, I can do that. And I just watched it, and it just went. When you first put the load in, there's a spike, right? And then there was no burnout. The spike came and we handled it, right? The wave hit and the structure was solid. The wind caught the spinnaker and the boat started sailing.
Isn't it that it's kind of the same when you buy something, like people who are shopaholics? So they have the rush of buying something, but then they get home and they bought so many things that they don't even remember what they bought.
Well, in this case, they're using the rush as a way to distract themselves because that rush, that peak of energy that's just flowed through, it's energy. Yeah. Okay, it's energy that's flowing through. It's current. It's currency, right? So at that moment, you get a quiet space, right? And then does your mind start up again? It starts up again, and you get bored again, so then you got to go and find something new, right? The bright, shiny object was fun for a minute, and then it gets dull and boring. So then you go and chase another bright, shiny object, right? So the first step is to learn how to be fully present, happy, content with what you have, present, and then you slowly start working your way up. Eventually, you should be able to receive an unlimited amount of resources. The way we're set up now, I don't lose any sleep over it. It makes no difference to me. 10 million more or less doesn't make a difference. But 10 million more would allow me to do lots of amazing things. So if it came up, I'd be really excited and celebrate. But we celebrate all the time anyway. Does that make sense? So what works for you? Where are you going to be comfortable and happy at is what you need to determine for yourself. And just start wherever you like.